And I think we're live. Hey guys. I think yeah, we're online. I think everybody is already here. Good morning. How's everybody doing today? Everybody doing okay? I hope everybody's doing fine. Please let me know if I'm coming through okay on the video, if I'm coming through okay on the sound, nothing's too hot or too low. Got my guitar. Got my guitar today. Then playing this, this is the Fender Road Worn that I had for a while now. I'm playing this one. I haven't played this one in a while. It's been locked up in the case. I figured it was time to give it some love. I missed it, and today I pulled it out, and it was almost in tune. The only thing I realize is that the string height on this one now is just a little bit too high. The neck hasn't shifted in terms of the relief. It's just that I think I've been slowly adjusting my guitar string height slightly lower. And since it's been a while since I've adjusted this one, it just seems a little bit high. So I'm going to have to probably put this one on the bench and do a little bit of adjustments on it. But beyond that, it still plays and feels great. So how's everybody doing today? Everybody okay? Let's say good morning to the people that are already here. We have a couple of people in the house early today. We have Jeff. Jeff was here number one. He says numero uno. So Jeff gets the early bird award for today, for Sunday. Good morning, Jeff. Bruce. Bruce is number two. So we know who the early risers are. Cushman, good morning. And Cushman reports that he has picked up a Beat to Hell Les Paul R8. Nice guitar, man. That's something pretty sweet. It says plays great, just finish wear really bad, so I had it refinished. Now it's so nice, I'm almost afraid to play it. Yeah, that's one of the risks that you run when you baby a piece of gear, eh? But that's really nice. Congratulations on the R8. Did you get a really decent deal on it because it was Beat to Hell, or why did you decide to pick that one up? Was it something you just couldn't pass up, or? Give me a little bit of feedback. I'd love to see that guitar. I'm sure it's a sweet guitar. And also, where did you get it refinished? How much did that run you also? I'm just curious because, yeah, sometimes you run across some really nice deals and maybe the guitar is beat up a little bit. But if it's a sweet guitar, it might still be worth refinishing it, getting it back into tip-top condition, especially for something like an R8, which typically doesn't really lose value all that much. People are very interested in those guitars. Jack, good morning. James, how's it going? Jeff is here. Fat Philosopher is here. Fat Philosopher says he bought a 2015 ESP LTD LP style guitar yesterday. So Fat Philosopher is still picking up guitars regularly, which is cool. So are you considering keeping that one, Fat Philosopher, or did you buy that one to flip it? Because I know that you sometimes buy and sell. I'm going to put the microphone a little closer to me here. All right. Yeah, so let us know if that's a keeper or if that is something that you just picked up to resell. If you come across some good deals sometimes, and maybe the guitar is not necessarily your type of guitar, but it's worth more than what you paid for it, make a couple of bucks by flipping it is not a bad idea sometimes. Paul's here already. He says, just when you thought it was safe. um, now we're ready to get started, says Paul. Yeah, exactly. And he's early too. Oh, cool. So yeah, Fat Philosopher says it's the EC100 QM. I guess that's Quilt Maple. Deep Cherry Red. Sounds really nice. I always feel that red guitars make you play better. He says he's only played it for a few hours. Yeah, it takes a little bit of time to get used to it, eh? You got to really kick the tires on it, so to speak, before you get a better understanding of what it can do or what the limitations are. Good morning, Wayne. How are you? Christian, how are you, my friend? All good? Larry's here too. I'm here, Larry. The Nye is here as well. All right, so everybody's quite a few familiar faces here. Some new ones as well. Jamie says, good morning. I really enjoy your show. I get motivated to practice using my Gibson Firebird. Nice, sweet guitar. The Gibson Firebird is one guitar I never owned yet. There's not a whole lot of guitars I haven't tried, but the Firebird is not... I don't even think I've actually... I may have picked one up once, just to see what it felt like. So I really don't have much playtime on any Firebirds. It's an interesting guitar for sure. Interesting shape, cool looking guitar. It looks, and I think they're also coming back in style now. I think I see more and more guitarists in some like bands that are, you know, popular bands nowadays playing the Firebirds again. Charles says his Princeton 650 arrived on Friday and it sounds great. Awesome, Charles. Awesome. Isn't it fun to have a new toy in the house? You know, a new amplifier to enjoy. Makes you play more and makes you enjoy playing. Timo says, did you turn that Jackson JS Dinky into an EVH replica? No, I did not. I did not. The Jackson is still as is. I just changed the pickups on that one. You might be, if you're thinking that it's this one, it's not. This is another guitar. This is a kit guitar that I built. Fat Philosopher says, I think I'll keep this one for a year. It has nicer features than the AOI or Tokai did. The Tokai was easy to flip to buy this one. There you go. So with every guitar you flip, you get closer to the one. Yeah, exactly. That's a good idea, Paul. Fat Philosopher, you should open yourself a nice reverb shop or something like that. You know, he already is. Okay, you already are on reverb. There you go. So maybe that's what you should do, Fat Philosopher. You know, play the guitars, record a video of them, put them on your reverb page, and you know, make some money on the side. Still has not sold the Gibson Les Paul Jr. yet. I thought people wanted Gibsons. Maybe the Junior's not as popular as the other ones are. Not really sure. Wayne says he bought a banjo. Finally, fun toy after level setup. Should have bought one 40 years ago. I really don't know how to play banjo. It's kind of weird that, you know, one of the strings has the tuner all the way down here. But I think if you just finger pick, I think almost anything sounds good on a banjo. What do you think? I don't know. I've only picked one up like for probably 8 seconds to play around with it. Larry says, Tony, don't yell at me, but I'm thinking of getting one of those headless Ibanez guitars. Why would I yell at you, Larry? I don't dislike those guitars. You know, if that's your thing, why not? I have a little headless guitar as well from Bootlegger. I think If you go into my videos, you'll see that one. It's a white one. It's a fun guitar to play. I was actually considering doing the EVH stripe thing on that guitar, but I think I'll leave it alone for now. Too many projects going on at the same time. Not good. Paul says I should do up one of my DIY with Firebird pickups. I think you would get hooked. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, Paul. Maybe. The Firebird pickups are like mini humbuckers, if I'm not mistaken, right? So I guess they don't necessarily sound like humbuckers or P90s. They have their own thing going. But yeah, maybe I should try one day and see what happens. That's all I need is to get hooked on something new. Top of the morning to you, two cool tunes. So I'm glad everybody's here. So let's just go down the regular greeting for the Sunday morning show. In case anybody here decides to watch later on and is new, I just want to give them the rundown. So basically, guys, Addicted to Gear, this channel is pretty much all about gear. We are trying to grow a nice community of followers that are also into guitars, amps, pedals, basically everything that has to do with playing guitar. And the channel is all about, you know, doing reviews, honest reviews, and no Hollywood here, just, you know, reviews of gear and feedback to whether or not, you know, we think they're good or maybe not so good in certain cases. And so if you're into that sort of thing, then consider subscribing to the channel. We do the live shows every Sunday, mostly on Sundays at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you're free during that time, grab a cup of coffee, tune in, and just you know, see what's going on. And we normally talk about new stuff as well, stuff that's out, latest news, you know, that kind of thing. It's usually a looser type of I guess scenario, or we don't really have anything strict that we normally go by on our Sunday shows. It's kind of a looser, sort of open discussion, and that's basically what we're doing here. And if you want to support the channel, there's a couple of ways you can do it. Number one, subscribe. That always helps. Spread the word. That always helps. If you want to help support the channel, there's some swag underneath our videos. You can just grab something from there if you want to. That money usually goes to supporting the channel with equipment and stuff that we need to get the videos done. And of course, there's the top chat during our Sunday shows. And you know, if you guys want to do that, that's very, very appreciated as well. And of course, you know, just participating and giving the thumbs up to the videos. That helps a lot. It helps appease the YouTube gods as well. Wayne says, coffee, weed, and Tony, best fix for a Sunday morning. I don't know if you're going to get the day off on a productive level if you start off with weed, but hey, yeah, sure. Sunday, you know, relax, do what it takes. Not a problem. John has a question here, or a joke. He says, what's the difference between a banjo and a trampoline? A, you take your shoes off before you jump on a trampoline. I like that one. I like that one. I welcome jokes. I have a good sense of humor, so any jokes are more than welcome. Paul says the Firebird are numbucking, but they sound very similar to what we think of as Brian May sound. I think you meant humbucking instead of numbucking. Brian May sound. Okay, cool. Cool. So more of like a fatter sound overall. Nice. I should definitely try that one again. Fat Philosopher says, how much of a stickler are you on intonation? I can never get my V perfectly intonated. Close but not perfect. Okay, well, I mean, it all depends on your bridge and you know, how you have that set up. But you know, intonation is not the type of thing that you necessarily will always get dead on. It's a thing. I think we're safe to say that with intonation, you want to be pretty close. But it's never going to be 100%, especially if you do a lot of string changes, and perhaps change the gauge of strings often, or adjust your bridge. The saddle heights will affect that as well. So a few different things that will affect that, especially if you have a tremolo on your guitar. So yeah, you know, like certain guitars are not easy to get the intonation dead on, like a Telecaster, for example, with 3 saddles. Kind of hard to get everything dialed in 100%. So, you know, you typically want to get pretty close. Some bridges are a lot easier to get dead on than others. But as long as you're not too far off, you know, and the thing is also the height of your strings will also affect the intonation, because the higher your strings are off the fretboard, when you press down, it does change things. So, you know, it's always a balancing act. But yeah, and a strobe tuner, definitely. I tend to use a strobe tuner whenever I can, because it's a lot easier to dial in things very precisely. If you go to the Apple Store, if you guys have an iPhone, you can get the Strobo tuner from Peterson. I purchased it. It cost me, I think, $9 at the time. I've had it on my phone for years, and it does a pretty respectable job for a phone app. It's actually quite surprising. But if you can get an actual strobe tuner, then yeah, you're in business. It's a lot harder to get your guitar tuned in properly, especially for intonation, with those clip-on tuners. They're not as easy to work with. Yeah, and also lowering your pickups, Seth. You're absolutely right, because you can your pickups that are too close to your strings can actually pull your strings with the magnetic pull of the magnets. So that does affect things. So, and another thing that I learned is when you do intonate your guitar, there's a little trick. Do it this way. Do it when you're actually holding your guitar in the playing position. Some people will put it down on a bench with a neck rest. And actually, the weight of the guitar itself will bend the neck a little bit, and it affects the intonation. So you can be dead on when it's flat like that, but when you take it up to play and you check the intonation again, it'll be off. So I like to do the intonation when I'm in the playing position. Little tricks that you learn along the way. So if you try those things, Fat Philosopher, you should get a little closer. All right. That's a good question. I like those type of questions. If you guys have questions like that, keep asking, because this is what I like to. I like this type of conversation for the Sunday shows. So, guys, I realized today, this is show number 84. 84. So I realized I've been doing these live shows for 3 years now, which kind of blew my mind. I accidentally stumbled on the first one 3 years ago. So, man, time flies. Where does it go? I'm not really sure. But I guess, you know, when you're doing something that's fun, it kind of goes by a lot quicker. I put a little poll question out there, guys. So if you guys didn't see that, take a moment. The poll question for today was, if you had a choice of buying an equally priced amplifier, great sounding amplifier, or great sounding multi-effects unit, which one would you go for today? So, you know, this is always something that comes up in conversations. The quality of the multi-effects units are getting quite a bit better. There's some great units out there now. The Axe Effects for one, the Cerberus unit, there's the Kemper, the Head Rush, the Helix. There's a lot of really nice units. Some of them are pretty expensive. The Cerberus is almost, I think, over $2,000. So if you had a choice, what would you go for? Would you grab a really good amplifier, tube amp that sounds great, or would you opt for a multi-effects unit? So think about that question. I'm curious. Yeah, I know a lot of people. I mean, a lot of people are tempted to go with the multi-effects unit because there is a lot of advantages for sure. You're able to play quietly. You have built-in tons of built-in amps and effects and Rs, tuner, looper, basically everything you could want in one box. No, cables to have to worry about, patch cables, no, pedal boards to lug around. Everything is in one neat package. So there's definitely a lot of advantages to the multi effects units, and especially now since they're getting good. I mean, I gotta admit they're getting really good. But at the same time, there's a lot of us that will always go back to an amp. I've been down that road a couple of times where I've tried really nice multi effects units, and I'll be totally honest. Even now, I think like $1,000, $2,000, whatever the cutoff point is, you can get a lot for $1,500, $2,000 when it comes to a multi effects unit. So sometimes I think, is it worthwhile buying another amplifier? How many amplifiers do you need in one space? Like right now, I'm up to five. I'm up to what do I have? The Blackstar JJN, the Friedman, Dirty Shirley, the Marshall, the Brunetti, and the Fender Supersonic. So that's 5 amplifiers. And if you add them all up, it costs well above what you would be paying for a top of the line multi effects unit, and you wouldn't have as much flexibility. But at the same time, I gotta say the tone on a tube amp is always going to be the tone of a tube amp, and even though it's getting pretty close. So I just like your feedback on that. I'm curious to see what you guys think. Jeff says I got a PT15R last week. Bread and water until Christmas. Bread and water and mac and cheese goes well together. I usually buy the big boxes at Costco, because yeah. It has got me looking at my drive pedals, thinking I don't need any of these. Do you clear any pedals when you got a Marshall or the Friedman? Yeah, I definitely do. That's a great question, Jeff. Yeah, I think here's the thing. So, certain amplifiers do something really well. Like they all have the sweet spot. The Marshall definitely, that Marshall plexi tone that everybody's trying to get is there. Same thing with the Friedman. So when you're dealing with amplifiers like that, typically when you're playing a Fender or something, you're going to want to have a pedal that's going to get you into that territory, basically the area in which Fender doesn't play very well and that's usually the drive. So, to make up for that, you might get a Wampler pedal or some other brand of pedal. Could be a full tone, could be, whatever. There's many different brands that do the drive, overdrive sound, Marshall sound very well. When you get those amps that do that already, you don't really need that pedal. It's a redundant thing, But I always kind of hang on to them because sometimes, you want to play that Fender amplifier. You're going to take that amplifier to the gig, and maybe, that for that particular time, you're going to want that pedal. So I kind of hesitate, but yes, to answer your question directly, yes, if the amplifier does the thing really great, the pedals usually disappear. But I have to say, I've been slowly morphing my pedal board into pedals that are not necessarily tone changers as much as tone enhancers. And what I mean by that is, typically, my board, I'll have a tuner pedal, of course. There'll be an EQ pedal on the board. I'll usually have my EP booster on the board as well. So these are things that will enhance the sound of the amp already, not necessarily change it. Just be able to sculpt it a little bit more. And then I'll typically have pedals on there for things that the amp can't necessarily do. So like the Marshall, for example, does not have a reverb. So I'll have a reverb pedal on there. I'll have possibly a little delay just to be able to make the sound bigger, you know. And if I bring up a pedal, you know, with the Marshall, it'll typically just be more of a boost pedal as opposed to an actual distortion pedal, because I feel that the distortion coming from the amplifier is nice. So maybe it could be like a tube screamer type pedal, or just something to give it, to push it a little bit more and get it into the zone. As opposed to other amplifiers that just don't do that, then you need help with either distortion pedals or drive pedals and stuff like that. So I hope that answers your question. Another great question. That was a good question. Cool Tunes wants to know, how was the purchase of the Harley Benton HE35 delivery, etc.? It was fine. I mean, it took a little over about 2 weeks to get here. Wasn't so bad. Arrived in one piece, happy to say, double boxed. It's always a little bit iffy when you're getting any kind of gear from so far away. But I'm happy to report that it arrived in one piece, and I'm very happy with that guitar. I think it's a sweet guitar. Paul says that the Firebirds are bright and shiny like a Strat, but fatter. Gibson designed them to get market share away from Fender. The reverse Firebird failed. The non-reverse is their take on a Jazzmaster body. Yeah. Yeah, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, Paul, the Firebirds had, they have a plank of wood that goes down the middle. And correct me if I'm wrong, are those neck-through body designs, or were, I think they were, if I'm not mistaken, which I guess adds to that sound. Christian is thinking about the Blug guitar amp. It has inbuilt reverb and booster. This would fit my needs. Yeah, that little unit is pretty sweet. I've been seeing it on and off for a while now. It's been on the market for quite a while. A lot of people claim that it sounds really good. I have not tried it. I think it might be more popular in Europe than it is in North America, but a lot of people think that it sounds pretty good. It's has that authentic sort of amp sound to it, which is cool. So that's a good option too, and it's not overly expensive if I remember correctly. Thanks for the reminder, for the thumbs up, Jack. I appreciate that. Let me just scroll back on some of the comments here. And I also, a question for you guys. I'd like to know, you know, what pedals or specifically pedals. What pedals are you guys looking at these days? If you guys are, you know, on the hunt for anything new pedal wise, what are you normally hunting for? And also, you know, what do you already have? What are you considering flipping, perhaps? So Frank says he just bought a clone or clon, or is it a clone? It's a copy. Okay. Which version of this clone or clon did you buy, Frank? There's so many out there nowadays, eh? It's crazy. Seth says that he sent me emailed you pictures of a recent build. I did see those, Seth. I saw them. Thank you for sending those, and thank you for the offer. I would definitely try and contact you if ever I'm in that neck of the woods, for sure. The Dusky Rose Hardtail Strat, Relic Hardware Vintage Gloss Maple Neck, Dark Rosewood Board, and finally Presley California Customs headstock logo. I noticed that headstock logo. It looks pretty sweet. I like the way you did that, where you kind of mimicked the look of the Fender logo, but made it your own. That's pretty nice. Good job, man. I think it looks really, really great. I think you're cranking out those guitars like cookies now. So a lot of sweet things coming out of that organization. So if you guys are looking for any custom builds, hook up with Seth. I'm sure he can get you what you need. It's always sweet to be able to build a custom guitar to your liking. I have a couple of builds going on now. I mentioned that a couple of times. I actually started building my Strat that I wanted to put together from the parts that I had left over. I was so stoked, and I put the neck onto the body already. I have all the hardware lined up and whatnot. And I realized when I was about to put the bridge on, because there's no holes drilled for the bridge location on the body, that the screws for the bridge that I had are too long, and they would actually go right through to the other side, like inside the this. When you take the cover off your guitar here, the screws would actually protrude out the back, and I don't like that. Just by maybe, I don't know, a couple of millimeters. But it's happened before where I wasn't paying attention, and that happened. And I learned from my mistakes. So I need to get some screws that are slightly shorter, which is usually not a big deal. But because I'm going with gold hardware, it's really hard to find gold hardware that have these shorter screws and that are not going to cost me an arm and a leg. I've seen these screws being sold on eBay and other places like $12 for 6 screws. Then they charge another $15 for shipping. You know what I mean? And I don't really, I'm not that desperate that I want to pay $30 for 6 screws. So I'm going to try to find them locally here. A lot of shops around here don't have them, especially in gold, but I'm sure they'll turn up somewhere. And when I find a seller selling them at a reasonable price, I'll snag them up. I just hate buying these things from like China. I could buy these from China all day long, really inexpensively, but what I don't like about the China purchases is, it takes you a month to get them. In the meantime, I can't continue my build, so that sucks. So what I may do just to speed things up is I may use some non-gold screws just to set the location of the bridge, drill the holes, basically put the guitar together, and then eventually just swap out those screws and put the gold ones in, just to keep things moving, because I get very impatient with my builds. I don't like things, just lying around for too long. So, all right, let's go back to some questions here. Frank says that his clone sounds okay, less than $100 shipped and well made. So where did you get this one from, Frank? Is this something that you got from like China, or is it a reputable clone from somebody that makes these things specifically? Just curious. All right, so Paul confirms that the first one was neck through body, but not the non-reverse version. Okay. Got that. Thanks. Thanks for clarifying. The other thing that I wanted to talk about today is that I've been actually looking at, I think for the second time, I've been looking at a Timmy pedal. The Timmy pedals typically are pretty expensive. They run about 220 bucks. A little expensive for just one drive pedal. So I was looking at some clones, like I do, because I'm frugal. And I was looking at the Calin Pure Sky, which is supposed to be a Timmy clone. I know Mxr now is making like a mini Timmy pedal, but it's still it's good because it's smaller. It's a little bit less expensive than the original one, but it's still not cheap. And I think the Killin Pure Sky pedals maybe, I don't know, 30-40 bucks. So I might look at that one. I was looking at that one specifically because I know that the Timmy is a good match for amps like the Marshall that I have. It just gives it a little bit more girth without necessarily coloring the sounds so much, you know. So I might actually pull the trigger on that one and see, you know, what it sounds like and just give it another try. Paul says, Tony, I expect a big Asian shutdown. They all use the Chinese COVID. They all use the Chinese COVID vaccine that is based on flu vaccine tech, and it only works on C19. On any other variants, the whole of Asia is back to square one. You know, Paul, I hope that's not true because typically, you know, I don't know. If that is true, you know, that's a big portion of the population globally. Who knows? I don't necessarily want to start talking about COVID again, but it is at the back of everyone's mind. I think everybody's really trying to get back to normal. So something to, I guess, hope is the best word. I know somebody who recently, he's a musician and he was on tour. His tech actually got COVID, his guitar tech. So now he's trying to figure out ways to disinfect all his guitars because, you know, the tech works on his guitars and he's touching them, he's playing them. So now I guess he has to kind of like rub everything down, spray everything down with alcohol to kind of like disinfect all the guitars. And it's kind of like something you don't really need to worry about. You know what I mean? It's like you have other more important things to worry about, but then all of a sudden you're faced with something like this. Can you even spray down your guitar with you know, with rubbing alcohol without it affecting the finish? You know, how does rubbing alcohol react with nitrocellulose lacquer? You know, is it gonna ruin your guitar? You know, crazy, but something to think about these days. You know. It's funny how we're suddenly thinking about things we never really had to think about before. Yeah, Randy, if you can get a used one for about $100, that's ideal. I don't see them popping up on the used market all that often, though. Keeping my eyes open, but from what I saw, the Kalen was pretty close. You know, for me, anyways, close enough for like $40. I don't need it to be dead on, but it might just work for me. Jeff says he's got the Mxr Timmy. It has a strange volume bump at about 1 o'clock on both volume and gain. Yeah, interesting. Interesting. I think the original Timmy had the knobs kind of working in reverse, where the EQ would be kind of depending on, you know, how you normally turn the knob up, it's the opposite. Cool Tune says, I just got my first poke a few days ago, finally, after pressure from my kids. Wasn't happy, but so far okay with Pfizer. You should be fine at this point. You should be fine. And you know what? At the end of the day, it's just peace of mind too, you know? It doesn't mean that you're not going to get it, but at least if you do get it, it shouldn't be too bad. What I'm worried about more than anything is that, you know, all this time in, even if you're double vaxxed, you know, how long is it going to take for the vaccines to kind of lose their efficacy and have to get another booster? Like, are we going to be getting boosters for this like forever? You know, that's one of the other things that we, you know, as companies are sort of trying to entice the employees back. You know, we're getting into winter, we're getting into flu season. Is it the right time for people to be back in the office, mingling again? And, you know, especially when, you know, it's been a few months now since people might have gotten their last vaccine, which eventually, you know, I don't know if, I'm not a scientist, but I assume that you know, things change, the variations pop up, and maybe they're not going to be as efficient in handling that. Anyways, back to guitar talk. Enough medical talk for the time being. Fat Philosopher says best thing to do is not buy nitro finishes. There you go. That solves the problem. Yeah, that's what I understand, Jeff. The bass and treble are subtractive on the Timmy. Exactly. Flat is full up. Yeah. That's how I understood it. Exactly. So that's something I'm keeping my eyes open for. I originally did a review on the Donner pedal, the reverb pedal, the Vintaverb. I don't know if you guys saw that one or not. The Donner pedal to me wasn't bad. I'm not going to say it's the best reverb I've ever tried, but for somebody that's looking for something that is not overly expensive, of course, you can go full blown and get like the $300-400 units. If you really want top of the line, you know, beautiful lush reverbs. Obviously, the budget reverbs can't really compete in that particular market. But if you don't want to have something too expensive on your board, or simply can't afford that, then you know these might do the trick for you. I have the TC Electronics reverb on my board, and I like that one. The Vintaverb, it wasn't bad. I felt it was fine for what it is and for the amount of money paid. I like the TC pedal better because of the tone prints. You're able to, you know, load additional different sounds. There's some really nice ones in there as well. And it works well for me. Hey, Craner. How are you, buddy? Jeff says, I marked the nitro on my Black Les Paul Classic with overzealous use of switch cleaner. Won't polish out. Oh, man. You got to be super careful with nitro. Be careful with your mats. If you're working on your guitars and you have a mat, like some people will take the cheapy route and you know, grab something like a yoga mat, for example, for a couple of bucks and use that as the mat that they put their guitars on their bench when they're working on. A lot of those are based on you know, plastics or rubber compounds, recyclable materials that will interact with nitro. So your best bet is to get like you know, I would say grab a plush bathroom mat, you know, where you have actual fabric and it's thick, or cork. Cork is good because it's a natural material. It won't react with anything. Carpet will work also. But nitro is notorious for melting when you leave it on a surface that has rubber in it. It's happened to me that the back of the guitar neck, I got a mark left on it because one of the very old guitar stands that I had, the rubber piece that holds the neck when you put it in your stand, it was actually rubber. Nowadays they use foam, so it doesn't interact with most guitars. But this one was really old. I had this one forever. Put my guitar in there and I noticed like it actually melted away part of the nitro. Larry says, stupid question time. Tony, please explain the difference between reverb and delay, because they sound the same to me most times. Okay, well, I guess if you dial your delay down really, really low to like a slapback delay or something like that, it could kind of sound like a reverb, but generally the difference between delay is that it will repeat the note. You know, so if you hit a note and you palm mute, you're going to hear it repeat over and over again. Whereas reverb will not repeat, it'll just decay. So sort of like a cavern, you know, when you say something in a cavern, you're going to hear the word sort of stretch out in front of you. Whereas a delay is like when you're yelling between mountains and you say hello and you hear hello, hello, hello. That's delay. If I can put it down to the simplest form. So it's not necessarily the same. Um, Charles says, hey there, for your information, I put down the SG to say hi. Well, thank you. Thank you for taking the time. I know how difficult it can be when you're in the zone. So if any of you guys are out there and you haven't already said hello, don't be shy. Don't ghost us. Just, say hello. Jeff says he's got the Hall of Fame pedal. It's great. Yeah, that's a good one. Definitely. One thing I want, okay, here, I want to ask something of you guys. And I want you to pipe in. I want everybody to pipe in, okay? So if you're listening, take a moment, gather around, get on your keyboard, and I want to ask a question. I'm just wondering if I should ask it now or later. Oh, what the hell? Probably ask it now. All right. There's I wanted to ask what you guys think is the greatest guitar solo of all time. The reason is I came across a poll, and there's a lot of great. You know how usually these polls have like very general, like run of the mill popular guitarists, and they don't really go deep. This one is a little different. This one, they actually go deeper into some guitarists that are not necessarily radio friendly. But basically, I want to get your opinion. I want you guys to, it's not an easy thing. Typically, people will normally say, oh, Stairway to Heaven, or, a Pink Floyd song, something along those lines. But it's not an easy thing, Fat Philosopher, there you go, Stairway. Or, a Jimi Hendrix tune, but I'm telling you, if I go down the list, and you start thinking about the people on this list, it's not an easy thing. And I was thinking about it earlier, and I'm like, if I had to choose just one that I thought was the greatest, I would probably have a pretty hard time. So here, let me just name a couple and throw them out there, and then you guys can. I'm not gonna name all of them because there's gonna be way too many. Okay, but okay, Billy Gibbons, Lagrange. Okay, that's a pretty sweet solo. Then there's the Beat It solo that Eddie played for Michael Jackson. Not a shabby solo for that one. Then there's For the Love of God, Steve Vai, right? Pretty sweet one as well. And then there's some that are less common, like Rock Bottom, Michael Schenker. The Lady, that's Ernie Isley from the Isley Brothers. Some of you don't even know some of these. Still Got the Blues, Gary Moore. And by the way, if you guys don't know some of these, look them up because they're all great. Limelight, if you're a Rush fan. Hotel California, one of my favorites. I consider that solo one of the I'm not gonna say the best, but it's way up there. Then there's weird ones like Alive on the list from Pearl Jam. I wouldn't necessarily put that one in the same category. Paranoid, Tony Iommi, Black Sabbath. Definitely a nice one. Charles says, While My Guitar Gently Weeps. That's definitely a very nice solo. Fat Philosopher, Sunday Bloody Sunday. Not sure about that one. Forever Man is cool. Another Eric Clapton tune. Then there's obviously stuff like Back in Black, AC/DC, which is a classic. The End, Paul McCartney, George Harrison, John Lennon. Something to consider there. Then there's, Kid Charlemagne, Steely Dan, definitely a cool solo. While My Guitar Gently Weeps is in there. Freebird, it's another one. So I hope you guys are jotting these down, because these are solos that everybody that plays guitar should love to play these solos, because they're all amazing solos. Then there's 21st Century's Schizoid Man from Robert Fripp. Who else? Big Electric Cat, Adrian Ballou. Seth says Cliffs of a Dover, definitely should be on the list. What about, there's even silly ones here like Octopus Garden, like from George Harrison and the Beatles. I don't consider, I don't usually think about that one, but now thinking back at that one, yeah, it's a pretty unique solo on that particular song. Then of course we have Black Magic Woman, the original Peter Green version. And then, the Santana version is not too shabby either. Killing in the Name, another cool one. How about, I don't even think it's on here. It might be on here, it might not be on here. But In Living Color, Cult of Personality. It's a pretty crazy solo on that one as well. Not an easy one to play. Fade to Black. Yeah, I like the Collective Soul one as well. Shine is a cool solo as well on that one. Big Trouble, yeah, Steve Vai, that's another one. How about like you see, there's one on the list, Barracuda from Heart. I'm thinking back. Not an amazing solo in my opinion. I don't know why that one made the list. Then there's Shock Me from Kiss, Because We've Ended as Lovers from Jeff Beck, Gangster of Love, Johnny Guitar Watson. Who else? Floods from Dimebag Darrell, Ironhead. All Along the Watchtower, definitely a classic. Flying in a Blue Dream, that's from Satriani. I like Satch Boogie. Satch Boogie should definitely be in there. That whole song is basically a solo. Then there's Crossroads. There's Reeling in the Years, another really good song. That's not an easy solo to play. Steely Dan. Yeah, it's an overrated song. Barracuda is, it's basic, it's, I don't know. I wouldn't have put it on the list, my opinion. Then Under a Glass Moon, John Petrucci. A Million Miles Away, Rory Gallagher. Hangar 18, Marty Friedman. Slow Gin, Bonamassa. See, there's a lot of songs on the list that I would not have even considered. Then there's Walk This Way. If I look at the solo in Walk This Way, I wouldn't say that's one of the best solos. I wouldn't necessarily have put it on the list. Then there's Race with the Devil on a Spanish Highway. If you guys are Al Di Meola fans, which I am, or I was. Now not so much, but early on I was. That's a great song to play. You Really Got Me, The Kinks. Again, You Really Got Me, The Kinks. Would I consider that the best solo of all time? No, I wouldn't. That shouldn't be on the list. And then Crazy Train, The Thrill Is Gone. The Thrill is Gone. Again, should that be on the list? I like B.B. King, but his solos weren't all that. Actually, quite simplistic, if you ask me. But maybe that's the beauty of it. Can You Hear Me Knocking? Mick Taylor, classic Stone song. The intro on that one is cool. I don't know about the solo, but the intro, definitely a very recognizable riff that is amazing. I love playing that one. And then there's stuff like Aqualung. There's no guitar solo on that. Is there? I don't remember there being. Bohemian Rhapsody. Nice. That one, yeah, I think that should make the cut. Johnny Be Good, Chuck Berry. It's one of the early solos. Again, is it the best solo? Eruption definitely should make that list. You know, that is one of the measuring stick for a lot of guitar solos, I would say. And yeah, Stevie Ray Vaughan is on the list too, I think. Let's see here. I'll just go down the list a little bit more. So there's See No Evil, Richard Loyne. There's Sweet Child of Mine, Guns N' Roses, Purple Rain, My Love from Henry, or Paul McCartney and Wings, basically. Straitsboro Blues, the Allman Brothers, Lenny, Stevie Ray Vaughan. Would Lenny be the one that I would consider the best solo? I mean, he's got such good guitar solos as well. I guess they didn't put Voodoo Child on there because it's a remake. But Lenny's a beautiful song. Yep. Iceman from Albert Collins, 8 Miles High. Man, there's so many songs, you know, like this list is super long. So, and of course, you know, the classics, Comfortably Numb. That one always comes up. Highway Star, Richie Blackmore. Pretty nice solo on that one. Sultans of Swing. Not too shabby, I gotta say. Stairway to Heaven's on the list. What else? What else? Sympathy for the Devil. Taxman. I wouldn't say Taxman. I wouldn't put Taxman in there. So there's a lot of really nice tunes. So what do you guys think? I mean, if you guys had to pick one, what would you pick? It's not an easy thing, is it? We tend to kind of pigeonhole by guitarist, not necessarily by solo, you know. Like, I love Jimmy Page. I think there should have been more Led Zeppelin solos in that list besides Stairway to Heaven. You know, the Lemon Song, Heartbreaker. I mean, Heartbreaker, come on. You know, whole lot of love. There's so many great Page solos that we're not on the list. Paul says, Fripp 21st Century, Schizoid Man changed my life. It came out in 69. By 71, I had moved to London, UK, and was in Tallis, a prog rock band. I heard of Tallis. You were in that band? That's pretty cool, Paul. I didn't know that. Sean says Dazed and Confused. True. The use of the violin bow, pretty revolutionary. The use of the what do you call that? The little antenna there that he would use as sound effects. Man, I forget what it's called. Yeah, I would say that's a pretty revolutionary solo. Yeah. You know, it's not just guitar, but he basically, I never saw anybody do that before or since. Well, since Bonamassa's replicated some of that as well. But Larry says the solo that still raises hairs on my back. Stairway to Heaven. It's a beautiful solo. I think it's just gotten a bad rap because it's been like overdone. Like, at this point, everybody's sick of it. But if you listen to it, beautiful solo. Telecaster on that, guys. Not a lot of people think it was the Les Paul, but it's actually the Telecaster he was playing on that one. MFN says, hello, love your show. I learn a lot. Been playing for 18 months. Thank you. Hey, I appreciate that. Thank you for tuning in. The Theremin. Yes, Fred. That's what it's called. Sorry, I had a brain fart there. Did you guys know there's actually a Theremin app that you can download on the Apple Store that you can turn your iPhone into a theremin? Believe it or not, it's true. Still Got the Blues. Yeah, that's beautiful as well. I didn't know that, Sean, that the Beach Boys used the theremin too. Was that being used on Good Vibrations? Which song did they use that on? It sounds like Good Vibrations to me, but maybe it's not. Seth says, I got a song called Firefly Frogs, and it's that solo that's pretty killer. Just saying. Firefly Frogs, cool. It's a good name. I like the name. Yeah, in my time of dying, beautiful, beautiful. Yep. What about stuff like, Black Mountain Side? What about Traveling Riverside Blues from Led Zeppelin? As you can see, I'm highly, uh, you know what? I shouldn't say anything about Led Zeppelin because I'm just biased. So, but there's so many great songs. Yeah, Dave Mustaine's closing solo on A Holy Wars. Yeah, there's so many. If you think about it and try to make a list, it's not that easy. Yeah, Good Vibrations. That one sounds like they were using that there. I wasn't sure about that, but now that you mention it, yeah, it does definitely sound like that. Jeff says, love the Cinnamon Girls solo. Basically a one note run, but it serves the song so well. Yeah, true, true. Beating the Odds, Molly Hatchet. Metallica's Short Straw solo was what made me buy a Floyd Rose guitar. Larry says Achilles' Last Stand. Yeah, yeah, that one too. That one too. So that's why I'm saying I find that the list is lacking on the Led Zeppelin side of things, but that's just me, you know. There's a lot of beautiful songs. What about Over the Hills and Far Away? I mean, no big solo in that song, but just the way he's playing that song is really nice on acoustic guitar. Another one. And if you guys are Led Zeppelin fans, maybe you might know this one. It's not as popular in terms of a song, but they had a song on In Through the Outdoor called Hot Dog, which was more of a country type of song. Pretty advanced picking on that one in terms of country style for Jimmy Page. Not an easy song to play either. And of course, there's what about Scuttlebutting from Stevie Ray Vaughan? That's a crazy song. Definitely wacky solos in that one all the way through. What else? What else? I'm just trying to think Stevie Ray Vaughan now. There were so many good songs on Couldn't Stand the Weather and Texas Flood. Oh man. Too many to remember. Yeah, Hot Dog was one of those. It was kind of an odd one in that album, but it was pretty cool. Montegro says Camel, Stationary Traveler in the Evening. That's I love that song. You don't know how many hours I listened to that album. It was one of the very few Led Zeppelin albums that I had at the time. My sister actually purchased that album, and because I didn't have money to buy other Led Zeppelin albums, I would listen to that one over and over again. So it's not the most popular album, but I grew to love it. Yeah, Riviera Paradise, beautiful song as well. Yep. What about Roundabout from Yes? The solo, not extremely, not huge in terms of guitar solo, but the entire song is pretty cool in terms of Pride and Joy. Yeah. The Things I Used to Do. That one's cool too. Stan Song, another one. It's funny, eh? Because yeah, exactly. Some of the songs we love the best are the ones we still can't play. It's almost like once you master the song, the thrill goes away. It's sort of there's a lot of songs, Led Zeppelin songs, I still can't play. It's just too hard. It's a, a combination between the playing style and also the sloppiness that he had at the time. Very hard to reproduce because he wasn't an extremely clean player. So to reproduce the sloppiness aspect is kind of pretty hard to do. The Celtic theme, over the hills and far away, great stuff. Any big country tracks would more often than not include one of those. Yeah. And there's bands that are not necessarily known for guitar, like Tears for Fears, Tales from the Big Chair. Um, Beautiful album. That's probably, if you listen to that album, it's mastered so well. The sound quality on that album is amazing. And there's some amazing guitar solos in that album. They're short. It's not a guitar based album, so it's not like a virtuoso type thing, but they're tastefully done and they're really good. Definitely should listen to that. Yeah, the Comfortably Numb solo usually is one of the top five, right? It's beautiful. It's got a lot of feeling into that song. That's, I think, one of the reasons why, Paul. It's oozing with feel. Uh, for me, I feel in terms of what I prefer will always win over speed. I prefer, like, if you listen, like Yngwie Malmsteen, Black Star, you know, or something like that. It's like I don't even think I saw one Yngwie Malmsteen song on the list. Why? I mean, he's definitely got crazy, crazy licks. But for me, it's like I'd rather hear something like Comfortably Numb as opposed to just, pentatonic scales being played really fast all the time. Nuno solo on Get the Funk Out. Yeah, that's true. Toto, yeah. Steve Lukather, yes, definitely. Jack says, I'm really about to tell my age, but Chet Atkins, definitely, yeah. Him too. Yeah, definitely. Oh, so many good guitarists. So it's a great list in case you want to like refresh your memory and start going and listening to some of those songs that are maybe a little bit more obscure and get a better idea of those of why people consider those solos to be so good and to be worthwhile on that list. I'm sure there's some very obvious players that we're forgetting that should also be on that list as well. Yeah, that's another one. For the Love of God, Alan. Yeah, you're right. That one has a lot of feel as well. Uh, Montego says Wasp. The Idol is a copy of Comfortably Numb. There you go. Larry says I still can't play any songs on Yes 90125, but I love that album. Yeah, yeah. What else from Yes? Fish, Theme for a Day, Roundabout we mentioned. There's quite a few other ones. Fat Flosser says people crap on Malmsteen too much. Truth be told, he can play circles around almost anyone. Listen to his symphony records. I'm not saying he can't play. Yeah, I agree with you. He can play. He's definitely got the chops. It's just that after, I don't know, 10 minutes of listening to that, it all starts sounding the same to me. So, I know people love the guy, and I'm not going to shit on him in terms of his playing capabilities. He can definitely, rip on that thing. So Al says, is that a Marshall Studio Vintage I see in the background? How long have you had it? It is a Studio Vintage, and I've had it, I bought it this year. Just around winter, last winter. Yeah, it's a great amplifier. I don't use it nearly enough, but every time I use it, I'm in heaven. Hey, Gear Junkie, good morning. Nice to see you joining us. Paul says, Peter Green's Black Magic Woman. Yeah, that's on the list. I mentioned that one. And Jeff says, Falling Off the Edge of the World, Sabbath, the riff, and the solo are incredible. Yeah. Another good one there. Man, so many. You know what, guys? If you ever I purchased this book. I want to just share this with you. It's a beautiful book. I've kept it for many years. It's probably going on 30 years that I've had this book. It's right here. Let me just show you. Since we're talking about music and we're talking about songs. This book, it's called the All Music Guide. Look how thick this thing is. This thing's like an encyclopedia, okay? I purchased this book, I don't know, it must have been 30 years ago at least, okay? There's reviews and rating of over 20,000 albums from 4,000 artists in 20 categories. This thing, it's the third edition. I don't know if this thing's still in print or not. And if you look at the writing in this thing, it's the writing's tiny, all right? Look at this thing. This book is amazing. It's just amazing. They list all different categories. For example, rock. You can go from rock, you can go to blues, you can go to gospel, country, folk, Celtic, whatever, world music, all the different categories, including women, rap. So if you go into rock, for example, they even give you a breakdown of like how rock came to be, what the influences were that developed into that particular style of music. And they pull all kinds of people in here that some people I haven't even heard from before. But, Bruce Springsteen's in here. They talk about him for a while. Then they rate his albums and they tell you which ones are the best ones, the essentials. And I was referring to this book. I have an extensive library that I had started to build, CDs. I was buying CDs like crazy when they were popular, and I built up a beautiful library of music based on this book. But it's a beautiful reference, and I don't know why they don't continue to publish that. I guess it's just because it's such a big book to have to do. But it's called the All Music Guide. I wouldn't be surprised if they have an electronic version online nowadays of the same thing. But it's really great for anybody that's into music and you want to you find an artist that you like. They'll even suggest other artists that are similar to that particular style, etc., etc. So a lot of great stuff out there. Johnny Rivers, Secret Agent, yeah. Another one. From the Beginning, Emerson, Lake and Palmer. Yeah, that's true. Sean suggests that one. Gear Junkie says, having 4 backup Squires and Starcasters and some extra junk necks, been considering scalloping one. Ingui style. Takes a minute to adjust, but feels very different. I haven't had the guts to do that. I haven't had the guts to try that on any of my guitars. Because I just think I wouldn't necessarily like it long term. Who wrote the book? That's a good question. It's made by Miller Freeman Books. This was $27 at the time. So Miller Freeman Books was the publisher. And it might still be in print. I'm not really sure. But if you're a music lover, definitely you will find everything that you want to find in here, and much more. Excuse me. Fat Philosopher says James Bond theme song solo played on a Telecaster too. Yeah. Yeah, I think I knew that. I think I knew that one. One of the other things I wanted to talk about is looper pedals. There's so many looper pedals out there right now that if you guys are looking for one, you have a lot of choice, right? There's TC Electronic makes them, Boss makes them, a host of other companies and stuff. They vary in price from like, under $100 to $200-$300, depending on the features and what you want on them. But I've been playing around with a few of them. I've had the Ditto Looper from TC Electronics. I found that one to be very good. I like that one because it was simple. One button. That's all you needed. I also have the other one here from Mxr, which I find is good as well. But there's a lot of cheap, very good units out there now. And if you guys haven't already played around with a looper pedal, I highly recommend it. It's a lot of fun, and it's a great way just to brush up on your chops when you're trying to play over chord progressions and stuff like that. The Ditto Looper is the one I had, Alan. Yeah, it's a good pedal, solidly made pedal. I didn't have any issues with that at all, but I did end up selling it. And what I have now, the equivalent of that is this guy here, which is the Donner Triple Looper pedal. It looks like that. The reason why I went to this one is because it has a little screen on it. Can you see that? I found that was one of the things lacking with the Donner pedal. It was simple, that's what I liked about it, but it was a little bit too simple because sometimes you didn't know where you were at when you were clicking the pedal, because one click, two clicks, quick clicks change things. This one has a little screen on there. Like right now it says stop. If I click it, it says play. If I click it again, it says dub. And if I click it again, it says play. If I double click it, then it'll say something else. You could click and hold it. It says clear. So you always know where you're at. And what I like about this one too, it's got 3 memory slots. You can actually save 3 different loops, and you can go up to 30 minutes per loop. So a total of an hour and a half of looping time with this pedal. Nice little pedal, inexpensive, does the job. I like it a lot. I'm going to have to do a review on that. Because some of the pedals are just like overly complicated. And what I find personally is if you're colorblind, for example, a lot of the looper pedals are based on colors. This one isn't, but some of them are. When you click the button, it'll turn either red or green or whatever the color may be to show you whether or not you're recording or it's, stopped or whatever. A lot of people that are colorblind, red and green, look the same, especially on LEDs. I find the screen with the words a lot easier to understand, a lot easier to see visually from far what's going on. I just like it, and it works really well. So I recommend that guy if ever you guys are interested in checking that one out. Gear Junkie says the Line 6 JM4 looper has live recorded backing tracks and drum tracks. Yeah, a lot of them now are getting quite sophisticated with drum loop tracks and stuff like that. The one I have from Mxr does that as well. But I just find that it's overly complicated sometimes. Sometimes you just want something very simple and not too expensive. I don't want to spend $250 on a looper pedal. If it's under $100 It has a clean sound, does what I need it to do, doesn't take a lot of space on my pedal board. That's what I'm looking for. Alan says looper pedal should go at the end of the signal chain. It depends, Alan. It depends whether or not you want to loop with your effects or have a clean sound only. So if you want to have just a clean sound, you would put it at the beginning of the chain. If you want to have all of your effects go through the looper, then you would put it at the end of the chain. Good question. Have I tried the TC Electronics Mojo pedal? No, I did not. It's one of the few TC pedals I have not tried. Just because I didn't feel that it sounded all that great when I was watching some of the video reviews. It didn't entice me to try it for myself, so I didn't. But maybe one day I will. It's not something that I'm after right now anyways, so that's one of the reasons why I haven't tried that one yet. What I did receive recently, and I'm anxious to try, are the Porter Gatekeeper pickups, the humbucker set. I did a review of these really inexpensive pickups from Porter. The Gatekeepers that I put into my other guitar sounded great. And I wanted to try the humbucker set because I hadn't. So I ordered the humbucker, the Gatekeeper, the hot ones, which is the GKPH Plus. Also just 99 cents, $99 a set. And they're a little bit higher output in the bridge. So it's 7.8K in the neck, and I think the bridge is about a little over 14K. Sorry, 12K. 12.3 to be exact. I was thinking of another set. 12.3. And I'm anxious to try them out. These ones don't have any covers on them. So I usually like pickups that have covers. I like raw nickel covers specifically, sometimes chrome, but I do have a couple of guitars that do not have any covers on them. This set does not have covers on them, so I'm trying to think now which guitar I want to put them in. I'm pretty happy with the pickups that I have in most of my guitars right now, so it's going to be almost like taking the pickups out of another guitar just for the sake of trying these ones, even though I like the other ones. But we'll see. Perhaps I'll put it in one of the Les Paul style guitars that I have here, and we'll just kick the tires, so to speak. If they sound as good as the other set, I'm going to be extremely happy, because the other set, honestly, and I'm not just prefacing this with for the money. Even if they were more expensive, I really like those pickups. So I'll probably be doing a video on that soon as I have an opportunity to put those in a guitar. Randy says the MXR clone looper is very good and it looks cool too. I haven't tried that one. And Paul says the Lacado Auto Looper, virtually a state-of-the-art ditto, big screen. Best of all, you can get it to start on your first chord without touching the switch. A good tuner built in, high spec, $45 USD. I like that feature. Which of my loopers has that feature? I think it's the NuX. The NuX one, I think, has the feature where you can actually start the pedal while you strum. Like as soon as it senses that you're strumming, it'll start the loop, which is great. So you don't have to worry about, like, clicking the pedal at the right time. It sort of takes that anxiety away. Because, some loopers can cause anxiety with that. People are just like, oh, did I press it in time? So that's, something that I would recommend most people looking at is a looper pedal. Besides that, I have a little bit of a keyboard player rant. Can you guys amuse me for a couple of minutes on this one? just not amuse me, but, you know, entertain me or allow me. So we're looking for a keyboard player. We're looking to add a keyboard player to the band because we just want to fill out the sound. Having a keyboard player in a band, usually it opens things up quite a bit sonically, and it also takes a lot of pressure on the guitarists because now you do have somebody else providing the foundations of the progression of the song, and so you have a little bit more liberty in terms of what you're playing, and you can probably even improvise a little bit more. So I always thought it would be great to be able to add a keyboard player to the band. Been looking and looking and looking, cannot find keyboard players for the life of me. I don't know what's going on in terms of keyboard players and how, you know, how popular are they that nobody is available, you know? And again, it's just like, I think keyboard players are the type of guys that typically know they're in demand. They can easily get a gig playing at a restaurant or something alone if they want, because they can basically play the entire thing, sequence the parts that they need to sequence. So they don't really need a band. And it's just becoming very difficult to find somebody. And it's been a long time that we've been looking. Not even like, it's not like we've been auditioning people. We don't even have people to audition. Like nobody's even come up, you know, to be able to say, hey, you know, there's an interest. So it's really hard. I don't know if you guys that are in bands have experienced the same thing, but it's just very difficult, it seems. Maybe we're using the wrong approach, you know. But I have a feeling most keyboard players are in it for the money. They want to make money. Jeff says, did you bother with the Sir pickguard in the end? I did get the pickguard. I ordered it. I have it. Now I need to order the pickups to go along with it, which I haven't done yet. I just haven't had time. But that's the next step. Yeah, Jeff, you're right. The EVH C9, can use that to kind of mimic a keyboard player. Boss just came out with one as well now. I don't know the name of it, but it performs quite well. So you can actually turn your guitar almost into a guitar synth. It's not really the same technology as like the Roland stuff, but it allows you to kind of mimic the sound of a keyboard with your guitar. But the idea is not for me to play keyboards, it's to have somebody to play keyboards so I can actually do other things. But yeah, it's one of those things, man. And beyond that, I came to realize the other day that if you guys want to feel old, the Nirvana album Nevermind is 30 years old now, guys. 30 years. You know, I never really considered that as being classic rock, but it's becoming classic rock. It's 30 years old. For me, classic rock is even older than that. We're talking the 70s, you know, 60s and 70s. But yeah, 30 years already, guys. Think about that. Let that sink in. So yeah, it's one of those things. But hey, time flies. You got to make the most of it. Other things I wanted to mention quickly is that Gibson now is releasing new acoustic guitars. I don't know if you guys have seen this. They're releasing 3 or 4 new models in acoustic guitars. They range in price from about $1,000 to $2,000. Interesting to see that. I don't know if I'd be enticed to buy one right now. When I think acoustic, I normally think other brands beyond Gibson. But if people are big Gibson fans, something to look at maybe. Fat Philosopher says, my band's keyboard player is awesome. The best musician in the band. There you go. And Jeff says, same age as my youngest child. The album, I guess, 30, right? Seth says, Tony, add a Boss SY1 into either the rhythm guitar signal or the bass signal, the synth signal, and the dry guitar bass split. Take the synth signal, put it on a volume pedal, and it works. Yeah, I know, I know. There's a couple of workarounds for that as well. It's just that I don't want to be learning, how to play the keyboard parts now for these songs as well. I have enough to do on my own, so I'll leave that to someone else. I I'm still waiting for the Stu Mac order. I ordered a few things. I even forgot what I ordered. It's been so long. I would have expected them to be here by now. It still has none arrived. I don't know if they're shipping them by dog sled or canoe or what, but man, it's taking a long time. And it's not like the shipping was cheap. It still was pretty expensive. So I don't know what's taking so long. There's a few things in that order that I need, and man, I'm just dying for it to get here. I don't know if you guys have the same experience in the States with Stu Mac, but so far I'm not impressed with the speed of shipping. So Randy says Amon or Amun or however you pronounce that has a stereo pedal with 2 foot switches, storage of patches, reverse fade out, and jack for an added foot switch for around $75. Very nice. Yeah, I think I tried that one. I think I tried that one at one point as well. Let me just, yeah. See, NuX has a foot switch like this with one of their loopers as well, so you can get more functionality out of it. All right, guys, listen. It's an hour and 30 minutes I've been blabbing on this Sunday show, so I think we're gonna wrap it up now. I'll take maybe 1 or 2 last questions, and then we'll wrap it up. How does that sound? I think you guys are busy. You got other things to do beyond watching me all day long. Beavis says, my last 2 Mac order was last week. Took a few days to ship out, but arrived in 2 days once it shipped. But that's probably in the States, and you probably paid for the quickest shipping option. I know Stu Mac offers about 3 different methods of shipping, and the prices will vary. Some of them are pretty expensive, especially if they're outside of the US. So unfortunately, I didn't select the most expensive. Obviously, I just ordered 2 or 3 things, which already costed me way more than I wanted to spend. And the last thing I wanted to do was add another $50 to the order for shipping. So, Fat Philosopher says, what is the first solo I learned? Good question. I gotta think back on that one. Holy mackerel, it's been a while. Let me think back. Probably was something pretty basic. I don't think it was anything too advanced. I remember the first song I learned was Over the Hills and Far Away from Led Zeppelin. But the first solo, probably was another Led Zeppelin tune. I have a feeling, if I remember correctly, it probably was the solo to probably Black Dog or something like that. Or no, I think, oh, now I remember. Yeah, it was a solo for Whole Lotta Love. That was my first solo. I still play that lick all the time. It's just burned into my memory. I just kind of take that lick and just, tweak it a little bit and change it around a little bit. But it finds itself in so many of my my little solo licks that I play when I'm in autopilot mode. Seth says, placed a Guitar Fetish order last week. Everything showed as in stock, still waiting for it to ship. That's the worst, when you're waiting for stuff to arrive to continue building things. I'm still working on my Frankenstrat, and I need a few things for that as well. I had to strip down the guitar again. I painted it black, and I think I mentioned last time it had a reaction. The paints didn't jive with the primer that I put on there. Didn't work out. So now I basically stripped it down again. I'm gonna put the sealer on it again, and I'm just gonna paint the color without any kind of primer on it. I don't think Eddie had primer on his guitar anyways, so we'll probably get closer to the authentic version of what it was if I don't use any primer on there. Yeah, maybe it's held up in customs. Maybe. I'm not really sure. Paul says they can sit in customs for up to 2 weeks. That's maybe what happened. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised. And Beavis says, speaking of guitar fetish, I just found out they moved down to Florida. I'm bummed. They used to be here in MA, and I would get it the next day. Yeah, yeah, that's always a pain when something that you've been relying on for so many years moves or changes. You got to find another source. Well, at least we have these sources, you know. That's the good thing. We can order anything online these days. It's a lot easier than it used to be. Finding guitar parts, even just like, 15 years ago, wasn't as easy. Now you can pretty much get anything. If it's not available on Amazon, you can find it someplace else. But it makes things a whole lot easier. All right, guys. Well, then we'll wrap it up for today. Thank you for showing up and participating in show number 84. I really do appreciate you guys tuning in, and I appreciate the new faces as well. If you guys want to continue enjoying the Sunday shows, then just make sure you tune in Sunday mornings, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time right here. It's always going to be on the same channel, Addicted to Gear. If you have anything that you want me to review specifically or talk about in my videos that I produce and put out there on a regular basis, just give me your comments. I'm more than happy to oblige if I can. And stay tuned for the other videos that are going to be coming out this week. I have some interesting things lined up as well. And probably a couple of more little My Messy Workbench videos as well for any of you that are into building your own guitars as well. So that's it for now, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Keep on rocking, keep on playing, keep on enjoying your guitars. And we'll touch base again next Sunday right here, 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. All right, guys, big thumbs up to everybody here. And looking forward to seeing you next week. Take it easy, guys.